Welcome in to Outkick the Show, boys and girls. I hope you're having a fantastic Thursday and you are surviving the winter storm, this subtropical, whatever the thing is called, cyclone, winter cyclone. I didn't even know this happened. But wherever you are across the country, whether you are in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, all up the East Coast, many of you watching in those locations right now, I hope you survive. And good luck to everyone surviving the snow. I am Clay Travis. This is Outkick the Show. Outkick the Show is presented by OddsShark. Go to OddsShark for all your gambling and informational related needs as well. It's the beginning of a new year. You know what you need to do? Make sure that you save money while you can. Do you know how you save money? With a new mortgage, my friends. A new mortgage which can turn a 4% rate into a 2% rate. It can help you skip months of mortgage payments. If you didn't have a good 2017, you don't have enough money to start 2018, get hooked up now. And I'm telling you, you'll be glad that you did it. Take the chance while you can to go to thehomeloanexpert.com. Go to my guy, Ryan Kelly, and you will be well on your way to saving a bundle. That's thehomeloanexpert.com. You might be able to hear it in my voice. My family, when you have young kids and it's winter, everybody just gets sick over and over and over and over again. And I've had a cold for like 3 weeks in a row. And it's like a different cold every time. You get over it and then you pass it again. You get it from one of your kids and everything else. It's a disaster. So I think we're almost done. The kids will be back in school, which will be great because they'll get back in school and then they'll get sick from everybody else's family. And basically, it just needs to stop being so goddamn cold across the whole country so people can open their windows and get back outside. I'm done with winter already, and it's way too early in winter to be done with it already. All right, bunch of stuff to get to today. Here's the rundown. Bama, Georgia. How am I gambling? What sides do I like? Why do I like the sides that I am playing? Trump is going to Bama, Georgia. What does that mean? It's going to be a total mess down in Atlanta. We'll be there Monday, Tuesday. I'll talk about it. ESPN continues to make non-sports stories into sports stories. The Astros are going to the White House. Should be a one sentence. The Astros are going to the White House. That should be the end of it. Instead, it turns into a major debate because ESPN wants opportunities to rip Donald Trump whenever they get a chance. Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, both going pro. Who are the Browns going to draft? And Game of Thrones coming back. What is the details that we know you'll be able to break down? Big news if you're following the coaching search. A&M, I saw my guy Billy Lucci just reported this a little while ago. A&M has hired someone to break down the defense there, and it is going to happen. And so, God, some of you guys are fucking cunts. It's going to happen. A&M has hired the defensive coordinator from Notre Dame as their next defensive coordinator. The news out of LSU, Dave Aranda, takes $2.5 million a year, 4-year, $10 million guaranteed, and is going to be staying at LSU. A&M getting everybody raises. There's no doubt at all about that. All right, let's start with the Georgia-Bama game. To me, I love this game. I'm looking at it. I've watched every Georgia game all year. I have watched every Alabama game all year. We will be down doing the show live, Outkick the coverage, Monday and Tuesday from the venue there at I believe we're at the Sheraton Hotel downtown. I'm not sure if Radio Row is open. If it is, I'd love for you guys to come out. Check my Twitter feed at Clay Travis. I'll tweet out if it's open. We are doing the show from 6 to 9 a.m. On Monday and on Tuesday. So if you're an Outkick fan and you're in Atlanta, you're a Bama, Georgia person, you work downtown in Atlanta, whatever it is, on Monday and Tuesday we will be doing the show right there. And you can come by and watch the show and hang out, and it should be a lot of fun. And you guys are going to absolutely love every aspect of that, I promise. So 6 to 9 a.m., just like the Outkick the Coverage show in general. By the way, I want to thank you guys for the podcast. The podcast numbers are blowing up. I was never a podcast guy because I don't spend that much time in my car. I don't spend that much time listening to podcasts. The only podcast I'm subscribed to is my own. I don't listen to any of them. And so I haven't been a podcast guy. I've been a radio guy. If I'm in my car, I put on the local radio, listen to my buddies on the Zone, is what I usually do when I'm in the car, or I put on satellite radio. But I understand that you guys, and the podcast just continues to explode. And the podcast companies are coming after me. My deal at Fox Sports Radio is up at the end of June. All these podcast companies are coming at me saying, hey, please just leave terrestrial radio and start doing a podcast exclusively. And it's kind of amazing to see these numbers continue to grow. But massive response to the podcast early this year. Thank you for all of you who've signed up. Sign up for this on podcast as well. Just go search out Outkick, and you will be glad that you did, because the show is going pretty well. Okay, let's talk about Georgia-Bama. To me, this game, having watched both of them, is a easy call. It's an easy call if you watch this game and you get an expected outcome. Now, people always say, oh, you bet that game and then something didn't happen. Crazy things can happen in games. The dumber you are, the more likely you are to think whatever happens in one football game is going to replicate itself and happen again. That's not, in fact, the way things work. And it's crazy to me that college football fans tend to be the dumbest, because if you watch the NBA, or if you watch Major League Baseball, if you watch hockey, if you watch the NFL, every game is a new story. And if you start to think, I try to think probabilistically, okay? And I'd encourage all of you to think in a probabilistic manner. What that means is, from a football perspective, every football game is 60 minutes. But it's just 60 minutes between those two teams. If they played for 600 minutes, or 6,000 minutes, or 60,000 minutes, the overall outcome of that game could differ substantially. And if they played just for 6 minutes, then the overall outcome of that game could differ substantially too. So every single game is just a 60-minute snippet of what could be a never-ending game between these two teams. If they played a never-ending game, then the overall best team would eventually win. Why football is exciting is the best team does not often win, right? And so I'm talking about, in this perspective, while I look at it, the most number one way that I would break it down, I absolutely love the under in this game, and I absolutely love Georgia. Okay, now let me explain why I love the under and why I love Georgia. I think this game, between two defenses that are eerily similar, basically running the exact same defenses, the reason why I think it's going to be low scoring is I think it's going to be a lot like 2011 LSU and Alabama in Tuscaloosa. I was at that game that Bama won 9-6. I think the under is a absolute slam dunk blood bank guarantee. So if you want to play just one thing on this game, I absolutely love the under. Play the under, and you will be glad that you did. I'm telling you right now that it is the best possible play that you can make, all right? Go there right now, and you will be glad that you played the under. The number right now is right around 45. This number, it should be like 40. I mean, it's way too high. So I love the under on this game. I'm telling you right now, I've played it big money. I'm telling you guys to play it big money. Take the under. It's my blood bank guarantee, okay? The other side. Right now, Georgia is +4. I think Georgia is actually going to win this game outright, okay? I think Georgia is the better team, and I think they're the better team because I have more faith right now in Jake Fromm than I do Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is an athlete playing quarterback. I thought this year he would break it to the point where he becomes more of a quarterback and less of an athlete. Georgia's not going to let him run, okay? It ain't happening, okay? They're going to mirror him. They're going to spy him. He is not running the football. And he's not going to be able, I don't think, to convert on 3rd and long. Hurts is not a good quarterback right now. I think that what Georgia is going to be able to do is exploit the fact that he is not a great quarterback, and they are going to be able to break them down substantially when it comes to 3rd and long. I think that both these teams are going to try to run the ball on 1st and 2nd down. I think both these guys will have to make plays on 3rd down. I feel more comfortable with Fromm. I think it's crazy, especially when you contemplate as well, this is going to be an incredible audience favoring Georgia. Bama fans have gotten spoiled. They're not paying $2,500 to get into this game. Georgia fans have been saving up their whole lives ever since Herschel Walker was playing for an opportunity like this. I'm telling you right now, I've watched every game for both these teams that have played. Blood bank guarantee. Top out, get the vein going. I'm telling you right now, blood bank guarantee, the under, and I love Georgia +4, particularly love Georgia to win outright if you want to play the money line, but I love them at +4. Questions from you guys. Now, I'm telling you, like, could things change? Yes. One of these teams could come out, probably Georgia, and turn the ball over 4 times. Alabama's defense could score twice. You don't know what's going to happen. But if the game takes place as I anticipate it taking place, it's going to be low scoring, and nobody is going to post very much on the offensive side of the ball. I think the winning team will have 24 points. I think the loser will have 20 or 19 or something like that. It's going to be lower scoring. I don't believe that Alabama's better coached. I really don't. I think Kirby Smart defensively is running the exact same scheme as Nick Saban. I think that Jake Fromm, the fact that he's a freshman, is not going to be overwhelmed because he's playing against the same caliber of defense that he's practiced against all year. I think ultimately he's more accurate. Jalen Hurts is not a good passer. He can't throw the ball. If you told me that Bama was going to start Tua, which would be a crazy move to bring in a brand new quarterback for the national title game, then I would feel more comfortable picking Alabama here. In fact, if anything, the credit for Nick Saban's coaching ability goes to him because they can't make field goals. Bama can't make field goals. And on top of not being able to make field goals, they can't throw the ball. And yet they're still right here again, 13-1 with only 1 loss, and they're playing for the national championship. So I think if I were placing the bets, which I already have, I'm going big on the under. It's my favorite of the 2 bets. And then I'm also taking Georgia +4. I think that the home field advantage factor here is not being taken into account as much as it should. Now, I want to also tell you guys to come and hang out with us again. Remember, Monday and Tuesday, 6 to 9 a.m. at the Sheraton downtown, Cortlandt Street or whatever it is, right downtown. If you're in Atlanta, we're doing Radio Row. I hope it's going to be open to the public. If it's not, I'll still say hi to everybody as we come out at 9 a.m. and finish our show on Monday and Tuesday. So the under is my play and Georgia is my play. All right, Donald Trump is also going to be here. And there's a couple of interesting Trump angles here. First of all, will ESPN bring Trump into the booth and interview him at any point during this game? It's standard operating procedure for the president, if he's at a sporting event, to come into the booth and get interviewed. Will they allow Donald Trump to come into the booth with Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler and interview him? And if they do, is there a chance that Donald Trump comes off the top rope on ESPN for calling him a white supremacist during the broadcast of the most watched game on ESPN? If I were advising Donald Trump, Herbstreit and Fowler, I don't believe have ever said anything about Donald Trump. They're not particularly partisan or political. But if I were Donald Trump, I would come in for the interview. I'd get asked the first question, and I would say, man, I really appreciate you guys at MSESPN letting me come on and talk about sports, because I know usually all you guys talk about is politics. And I also appreciate you guys managing to fill 3 hours of football in between talking about whether teams are going to come visit me at the White House or not, because I know that's a major news story now. And I know you guys like to rib me all the time because you've turned into a political sports organization. Boom. Can you imagine if Trump said that in front of the largest audience of the year on ESPN? Mic motherfucking drop. That would be incredible to see. Be great for what I do. Be great for everybody out there who feels like ESPN opinionators are often full of crap. And that's what we saw today. I don't watch this stuff. You guys do a good job sending me a lot of the crap. On First Take, which is a crappy show, you guys all know, but on First Take today, they debated and ripped and said that the Houston Astros are on the wrong side of history. This is going to reflect poorly on them forever because they accepted an invitation to go to the White House. First of all, this is not a story, okay? And it's not a story for the world of sports. Now, on this show, we talk about everything, so I can talk about anything. But you know how much time I talked about it on my show this morning? 30 seconds. I have said this for a long time. I don't care who the president is. Whether in my life we've had these presidents. Jimmy Carter for a little bit. Ronald Reagan. We have had Bill Clinton, George Bush Sr., George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and now Donald Trump. That's 7 guys. I would have gone in every single time to meet every single president if they gave me an invitation. Got into this discussion recently. If Donald Trump invites me to any event at the White House, I'm going, period. And I'm making my wife go, even though she didn't vote for him. I didn't vote for him either. I voted for Gary Johnson, but it's the fucking president of the United States. To me, if the president of the United States invites you to do anything or asks for your help in any way, you do it because you respect the office even if you didn't vote for him, okay? And I don't understand how that's remotely controversial. I don't know why we ended up in this politicization universe where somehow the athletes are telling us what their political opinions are based on whether or not they visit the White House. I'm visiting the White House no matter who it is, as long as it's a duly elected president. I don't care. I didn't vote for lots of people who've been in the White House so far. I still respect the office. And if Donald Trump gets beat in 2020 and whoever wins the election is in there and it's the most left, and Bernie Sanders is in there and it's the most left-wing Democrat imaginable, guess what? If Bernie Sanders says, hey, Clay Travis, can you come help me do something in the White House? Will you show up for an event? Yes is the answer every single time. And this ties in a little bit with what I was talking about yesterday. Why does ESPN need to have somebody on lecturing the Houston Astros, telling them that they're going to be on the wrong side of history if they go visit the White House? This is one of the stupidest arguments I've ever heard. First of all, you're not going to be on the wrong side of history because you go visit the White House, okay? It's not like you're the freaking Secretary of State. Secondly, stop with the wrong side of history. Very few things where you can clearly say somebody was on the wrong side of history. Somebody was on the wrong side of history in things where it's really clear, like fighting the Nazis, right? The Nazis were on the wrong side of history. The Holocaust was on the wrong side of history, okay? There aren't very many defined wrong side of histories. What does Donald Trump actually represent that's the wrong side of history? Gorsuch on the Supreme Court? Like, there isn't even anything he's done that's the wrong side of history. You could, like, is there the wrong side of economic history? You either believe in, like, the fact that cutting tax rates stimulates the economy or you don't. Like, that's a legitimate argument for economic theorists. Everything that Donald Trump has done has helped the stock market go up. Like, he hasn't even done anything bad. People are working so hard to be offended that they're like, I don't even know what they're upset about. So this wrong side of history argument is absurd. Moreover, if you actually study history, you learn that even hundreds of years from now, historians aren't sure which side most of the time is the right side of history. This drives me insane. I went off on this yesterday, but I want you to think about this. If you study history, there are still historians that will fight each other over the decisions made by Robert E. Lee at the Battle of Gettysburg in 1863 and whether or not they were the right decisions. There isn't even a consistent opinion about this. I just read this new book about Pickett's Charge, and that historian is arguing it's the most brilliant strategic decision of Robert E. Lee's career. It just didn't pan out. Okay? That's the third day of the Battle of Gettysburg. If 160 years after the Battle of Gettysburg, we still get 400-page books of people arguing about which side was the right side of history, the idea that in that Houston fucking Astros life, they're going to be on the wrong side of history because they went to the White House for 2 hours in February is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard argued in my life. You aren't going to be on the wrong side of history because you visited the White House for 2 hours and shook the president's hand. Get the fuck out of here, Max Kellerman, you idiot. Moreover, what's important about stories like those is they are designed to actually create division in the country when there's no need for division. Why is it controversial to visit the motherfucking White House when the president was duly elected by the American public? How is that remotely controversial? It's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever seen. And every time a team makes a decision, when they decide to cover this like ESPN did, all it gives them an opportunity to do is rip the president. It's not about talking about the Houston Astros. It's giving liberal sports writers an opportunity to rip Donald Trump for something what? Because he invited the Houston Astros to the White House? This just drives me insane. It just drives me absolutely insane what ESPN has done to sports. There's no reason for that to be a story today. Go look at my Twitter feed. I'm absolutely hammering it because it's an example of agenda-driven sports journalism that has absolutely nothing to do with legitimate sports stories. I did a 3-hour show this morning. Just me, okay? I do it every morning. There's tons of topics right now. Trust me. I know what it's like better than anybody out there almost. In June and July when there ain't nothing going on and you're sitting around, you're like, fuck, I got 3 hours today and it's just me sitting in front of this microphone. We need some stories. We don't even have an A story. We don't even have a B story. We don't even have a C story. You've got 4 wild card games going on. You've got the college football playoff. You've got all the drama. If you need to go ahead and give the Swedish penis pump to the NBA, you can do it because ESPN's entire history as a company is now connected to the NBA. You can talk about LeBron. You can talk about LeBron versus Michael Jordan, which there's probably been more time spent on than any debate in the history of sports, and it makes me want to shoot myself in the head with a nail gun every time somebody discusses it, but you can talk about it. You can talk about Nick Saban. You can talk about Kirby Smart. You can talk about Jalen Hurts. You can talk about Sony Michel. You can talk about Nick Chubb. You can talk about so many different stories right now, and instead you decide to focus on the Houston Astros when, frankly, you wouldn't even talk about the Houston Astros in April and May if they were actually playing on the field. You can also talk about who? You can also talk about Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen, who both decided that they were going to go pro yesterday evening. And that, my friends, is a real way to actually cover the NFL draft with news that is legitimately unique. And in fact, I went on the Twitter machine. I hopped on the Twitter machine and I said this morning, I was curious who you guys were going to say was going to be on the number 1 pick. I said, if you were the Browns GM, or you were Jimmy Haslam, which means you're a poor bastard who's only rich because your dad's rich, and you make consistently bad decisions, and you've wrecked the Cleveland Browns, and you tried to wreck the University of Tennessee as well. If you were the Browns, which quarterback would you draft? And I gave you 4 options: Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, and Baker Mayfield. Now, there are 4 teams in the top 6 that theoretically could be interested in taking a quarterback. The Browns at 1, the Giants at 2, the Colts pick 3rd, and then you've got in the 4th spot the Browns again, and then I believe you've got the Broncos at 5, and then you've got the Jets at 6. It's possible 4 quarterbacks go in the top 6. Who would you take, I asked. And this is crazy to me. 30,000 of you have voted so far in the first 9 hours this poll's been up. And you're welcome to go vote in this if you would like. You can go check me out on Twitter at Clay Travis. 41% of you said you would take Baker Mayfield. 26% of you said you would take Josh Rosen. 21% of you said Sam Darnold. And 12% said Josh Allen. So this was intriguing to me. I didn't think that Baker Mayfield would win this running away. I'm kind of blown away that he ended up by far the overall number 1 pick. But my producer, Danny G, actually had a really intriguing question. He said, if you're the Colts and you have consistently screwed up quarterback drafting, he said, why not take 2 of these guys? You get your overall number 1 pick, and then somebody else goes 2, and then 3 is probably, if they're going to be a quarterback, not going to be a quarterback. I think the Colts should take, personally, Saquon Barkley. That's the pick I would make if I were Jim Irsay, if I was running the Colts right now. I'd go get Saquon Barkley because I think he's a big difference maker, especially in that dome in Indianapolis with what he would be able to do. Why not take 2 quarterbacks for the Browns? Why not take 2 quarterbacks for the Browns? So you got the Browns drafting a quarterback at 1, the Giants potentially drafting a quarterback at 2, although we'll see. If the Giants don't draft a quarterback at 2, I would take Saquon Barkley there. And then at 3, you've got the Colts. You're playing in a dome. You've got Saquon Barkley, and you have him at 3. Why would the Colts not take Saquon Barkley? And then at 4, you have got the Browns again. All right? Why wouldn't the Browns potentially consider taking 2 quarterbacks? Now, it's revolutionary. I know that back in the day, the Redskins took RG3 in the number 2 overall pick, and then they took Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. But why not just treat it like college? In college, you bring in multiple stud quarterbacks because there's an understanding that you don't know who's going to be really good going from high school to the pros. Why not draft 2 guys? Then you get double the chance to actually get a good one. And you figure out who the best is, and you start that guy. And then the other one is the backup. And then if the backup is good too, eventually you trade him away like they did Jimmy Garoppolo, and you get a 2nd-round pick for him. And that way, if the guy who you draft 4th is better, then you play him. If the guy who you draft 1st is better, then you play him. Instead of waiting 3 years to see whether or not you got the right guy and then going back into the equation, if you like 2 of these guys and you're having a difficulty picking between them, why not draft them both? I mean, the Georgia Bulldogs have got 3 5-stars right now. They already had Jacob Eason as a 5-star stud freshman, and then Jake Fromm came in and he won the job thanks to the Eason injury. And now they're going to sign this guy Justin Fields, so in theory they're going to have 3 5-star guys. In college football, nobody says, oh, that's too much talent. Everybody says, go get as many good quarterbacks as you can. Now, if you don't win that job, do you know what happens? A lot of times those guys transfer. So why not give that an opportunity to play out? There's an interesting argument. I think it's actually a really intriguing argument about what to do in that scenario. And the salaries, somebody said, there's no salaries in college, Clay. The salaries aren't that high. The salaries for draft picks are very affordable right now. You can get 2 great first-round quarterbacks for 4 years for much less than 1 stud quarterback costs on the open market. If you go on the open market, you got to pay a stud quarterback $25 million a year. I don't know what the overall number 1 draft pick is going to cost this year. It's probably like $6 million because they've cut the cost. It used to be that if you swung and missed, and I use this example for a long time, the Titans took 2 top 10 quarterbacks in the last decade prior to Mariota. They took Vince Young, first quarterback taken, number 3 overall in 2006. And they took Jake Locker in 2010, I believe, at 8. All right? Vince Young in 2006, the Titans swung and missed on Vince Young, and it cost them $52 million. All right? VY made $52 million. Do you know how much it cost when they swung and missed on Jake Locker? $12 million. So in that change of the salary cap, you eliminated $40 million in fixed costs, and I still don't think NFL teams have caught up to this. It's still this idea that if you draft a quarterback and it doesn't pan out, that it debilitates your team. It debilitates your team only because you don't get another position of need, but the actual cost isn't that big of an issue. It's worth keeping in mind. All right, final detail today. $13 million for 2 quarterbacks. That's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money at all. No big deal. $13 million, that's half of what a quarterback's going to cost on the open market. I agree with you. If you don't have a quarterback, your first pick every year should be 1. The Browns are like, hey, we're going to build without a quarterback. And they went 1-15. And they passed on Carson Wentz. And they passed on Jared Goff. And they passed on Deshaun Watson. And then they went 0-16. It doesn't matter if you build without a quarterback. The key part there is without a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, you got nothing. There's no point in playing the entire season. Just an interesting idea that I haven't heard anybody else talk about. All right, other news. HBO officially announces that Game of Thrones, the new season, is not going to come out until 2019. So we have this entire full calendar year. If you have HBO Go, cancel it. There's no need for HBO, unless they're bringing back Westworld. I like Westworld. That was a really good show. So I love all of you guys. Tomorrow, Friday edition, Outkick the Coverage, we'll have on my guy Alex Marvez as well as Casey Smith. And then we will be, like I said, in Atlanta on Monday and Tuesday. I've got an official request in to Donald Trump Fingers crossed that we might get him on the show. The White House is considering our request of Donald Trump for Outkick the coverage. Love all of you guys. Appreciate you watching. My name is Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. Go check out OddsShark. Go get a new mortgage at The Home Loan Expert. Kisses. D-Bat. See y'all.